Good afternoon, everyone. Today's story is entitled Give Your Life for Your Sister. A little girl lay near death, critically injured in an automobile accident. She desperately needed a blood transfusion, but they could find no one who shared her rare blood type. There was no blood in the blood bank. The doctors were getting desperate, and in the midst of their frantic search, one of the doctors thought about the child's older brother. This doctor discovered that the child's 7-year-old brother had the right blood type. Now, anxious to proceed, the doctor sat down with young Kevin and talked to him very quietly, explaining that his sister was going to need a blood transfusion. As he told him, your sister is very sick, and if we don't help her, she's going to die. She's not going to live. I want you to know that if you are willing to give your blood, you can help save your baby sister. Kevin's face was pale with fear, and he seemed to be struggling for his answer. But after a few moments, he silently nodded his head and said, "Yes, I will." The little boy was prepared and taken in to have his blood drawn. And as Kevin watched, he had this sad look on his face, and he was very silent as he watched his blood flow from his arm through the tube into the bag. The doctor stayed with him. The doctor was smiling at him and encouraging him. And then the doctor finally said, "We're almost finished." Young Kevin's eyes filled with tears, and he sadly whispered to the doctor, "How long till I die?" The doctor looked at him in astonishment, and then it suddenly dawned on him, and he realized that Kevin thought he'd been asked to give all his blood to save his little sister. That brave little boy had believed that his act of mercy for his sister would cost him his life, and yet he was willing to do it. This story has a parallel when you think about it with these words from the Bible, which state, "This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters." This comes from 1 John chapter 3, verse 16. How many of us are willing to go that extra mile? How many times have we not even smiled at somebody when we could have made their day? And yet, this 7-year-old boy did think nothing of his own life, but thought only of his little sister, and thought he was making the ultimate sacrifice. How many of us have thought about that in our lifetime? Are we ready to make that sacrifice for Jesus? Jesus made that sacrifice for us. And this little boy showed the true spirit of Jesus, in that he was willing to lay down his life to save his little sister. Y'all have a blessed Sabbath. We'll talk to you next week.